Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. But we're not actually in the game, but we are still going to be talking about Top Drives. Now, if you remember, literally a year ago, I made 2 episodes on tier lists, and you guys loved it, but I kind of never really brought it back until now. So we are going to do a tier list, Top Drives related, on every single update that I can remember that has come to Top Drive. So starting from the Porsche update, obviously we had the Suzuki update as well, but I just couldn't find any pictures for that. And also, it was a pretty crappy update. But yeah, we have the Porsche update, we have the Mazda update, we have the Jaguar and Rover, Rover and Land Rover update, the Tata Motors update basically. We have Lancia and Alfa Romeo, which is still a surprise to me. I always feel like Lancia has been in the game forever, but it hasn't been. American Dream, French Renaissance, Italian Renaissance, German Renaissance, this entire year of 2019, which is Renaissance, Great Exhibition, and finally European Revolution. So today we're going to be tier listing and ranking all these Top Drives updates that we've had, and as you can see, these are the 5 ranks that I have. We have at the top the RQ100 update, and then we have the RQ86 update, and the RQ64 updates, and the RQ31 updates, and finally the worst of the worst, the RQ3 update, right? So let's start. This is going to be my opinion, and I'm going to be judging all of these updates based on basically what they brought to the table, and of course the time of when they were given out. So let's start off with the first one over here, the Porsche update. So for those of you that might be newer to Top Drives, you wouldn't really know what the Porsche update brought to the game. So this is a nice little history video for you guys as well. It's a refresher for those that were around for this update, and something new for those that wasn't. So let's start. The Porsche update was released in December the 6th. Of 2017. That is right. This was the second ever update of Top Drives, or at least car and content update. The first one was the Suzuki update, which had the Pikes Peak, no epics, and I think 1 ultra rare, because at the time I think the Kizashi was a super and the XL7 was an ultra. Or maybe they were both ultras. So that being said, that was a pretty interesting one, but I don't have any archive of that. But I do have the Porsche update over here. Once again, December 6, 2017. It's an old update, the second car and content update ever of Top Drive. So what did it bring to the table? Well, the Porsche update was, in my opinion, very significant. It brought in a feature that maybe not every player uses, but it is a huge part of the game, and that is KT Play. KT Play wasn't in Top Drives since the start. The Porsche update introduced KT Play. It obviously added Porsches, but it didn't add every single Porsche we have in the game today. We'll see cars like the GT3 RS, the GT2, the 917, the 928, and the 924 Carrera Rally Spec added a little later down the line. But some of the OG Porsches would include the Porsche 918, the Porsche 959, and the older GT2s. I would say the 2018 GT2 RS that was introduced later, but the I think it was the 2014 GT2 RS, that was an OG add. Cars like the GT1 road car as well were also added in the first Porsche update. Other things that this brought was that best cars were now seen at the beginning, because at the complete start of the game, at the really early days of the game, if you wanted to check, let's say I want to check Dodge. The moment you click Dodge, the first cars that you see in your screen are going to be the highest rarities, right? The legendaries, the Demon, the Viper GTSR, the wide body, the Charger Hellcat. But back in the day before the Porsche update, if I click Dodge, the first cars that I was probably going to see would be the Dodge Monaco. You would always see the commons first, and you would have to scroll all the way to the right to see the best cars in the game, but this one reversed it. Now you see the best cars first and the worst cars, or the lower rarity cars, last. The last thing that the Porsche update brought to the game was it added the prize car tag. So before this, cars like the 918, well, the 918 I guess wouldn't have existed, but before this, maybe cars like the Suzuki Pikes Peak, it wouldn't have the prize card tag. It was just there with all the other ones, and the Porsche update was like, alright, it's time to signify to the players that this is a prize card, you cannot get it from packs. and it's different. So they gave it the price car tag and the price car logo, the little trophy logo. So all things considered, I'm going to give this an RQ86 update, because what was so significant about the Porsche update was that it was really one of the biggest updates of its time. It was really hype, and it remained one of my favorite updates until American Dream. So that already kind of tells you that these three updates come in after Porsche. I have it, under RQ86. What Porsche brought to the game that Suzuki didn't was Suzuki was it was really bad in the sense that the first ever car and content update, you kind of wanted to start it with a bang, but Hutch started it with Suzuki. And I remember when Suzuki was the new manufacturer, it got me really scared, because I was like, oh god, what if they just did a single update on Donkavort? What if they did a single update on Peugeot? What if they did a single update on Lada? You know what I mean? Like, there would be some updates, like the Porsche update, that would have caused so much hype because it was a much more popular brand, and then there would have been some other updates like Suzuki where nobody would actually give a damn. So luckily they did change that formula later down the line when they added multiple brands, and we'll talk about that later. But Suzuki really wasn't a great update. It's not even here. The Porsche update was great. I remember when it dropped, I just finished theater. That was when I was back in high school, and we were working on our winter play. It was Thoroughly Modern Millie, and I just finished that. It was winter, it was like 6:30, it was dark out, and I remember the moment I got out of the theater, the moment I got out of the directing practice, I checked top drives and I saw the Porsche update. I updated it immediately with 5G instead of Wi-Fi, because I was in school, so I didn't have Wi-Fi at the time. I mean, we had Wi-Fi, but we couldn't play games on it. It was like that kind of school Wi-Fi, you know what I mean? It was so hype. I was so hyped about it. I remember when CMG was the only top drives YouTuber that could leak updates or tease updates. I remember I was so excited when he was talking about the 918 and the 959. So once again, RQ86 Porsche it was a great update. I loved it so much. So moving on, next we have the Mazda update. Now the Mazda update over here, this was released around July 24th, 2018. So I'm pretty sure there were updates in between the Porsche update and the Mazda update, but if you guys know what it is, let me know in the comments below, because I totally forgot it. But the Mazda update, what it included were rarity changes. This is where we saw balancing, RQ balancing, cars going from, cars that were ultra going to super, or cars that were super going to ultra, all that kind of stuff. They also added the new Porsche add-ons, so cars like the GT2 RS, the GT3 RS, the 917, the 928, all those cars, 935 Moby Dick, that was added in the Mazda update. And what was significant about that was that it kind of added slick tires into the game. Before that, slick tires was really rare. I think some of the only slick tires in the game were the Mercedes GT3, the SLS GT3. But before that, it was really rare. None of the Porsches were slick. Actually, in the Porsche update, none of the Porsches were slick tires. It was only in the Mazda update when they added cars like the RSR as well, all those bad boys. The Mazda update also introduced the fact that grip, before the Mazda update, handling was called grip. And now after the Mazda update, handling is called handling. They changed grip to handling. So they did that as well. They also added Mazdas, and that was about it. Once again, it was not a very interesting update. Mazda, the brand itself, not very good. Giving it an RQ31. I mean, when you think about it, Mazda had one Epic, until today, still one Epic, and no legendaries. I mean, there is one, but it's a prize car. So, when you get a Mazda carbon fiber, it's always discounted, right? When we get a Dodge carbon fiber, it's $1,599. But when we get a Mazda carbon fiber, it's $1,499, because you can't get a legendary from it. Only one Epic. It's a great Epic, though, the Furai. And yeah, obviously Hutch knew that, and that's why they decided to refresh Porsche at the same time. But let's be honest, a lot of the Porsches they added were meta breaking. They really changed the game. The Mazda update, not a great update in my opinion. Moving on was the Rover update, and now we can actually move on to my website, because this is where I kind of documented more of this. So unknown PL, patch notes not found, but from my memory, this update right here, Range Rover and Jag, it introduced, Range Rover and Jag, and I don't remember enjoying it very much. My Blossom rating on my website, this is indeed my Blossom website. If you don't know, link in the description below. I gave it a 5 out of 10, and updates released circa February 2018. So actually, This came out before the Mazda update, didn't it? I guess it did. Well, the more you know. But yeah, I remember this when this update came out. It was really relevant because it was a British update and it dropped when I was in Heathrow. Actually, I was in Heathrow Airport and it was a school trip. And it was my senior year, so I had like the most fun one, you know, the one that went abroad. And it was me and a couple of my friends. We were heading to Berlin, and this was when I was still in Seattle, because that's where my hometown is. Home state, Washington State. Anyone from Washington State represent. But I remember there were no straight flights from SeaTac to Berlin. I can't remember the name of Berlin's airport, I do apologize. So we had to fly from SeaTac to Heathrow, and then we had a transit at Heathrow, and we went from Heathrow to Berlin International Airport, whatever it's called. Sorry if I don't know. Sorry, I forgot the name. But I remember it dropped when we landed, and I was like, yo, this is the perfect time. And my friend and I, we actually opened a couple Jaguar carbon fibers at the time, and he got the XJ13, which was a car that I really wanted, so he was really lucky. I got a couple Ultras, it was crap. Also, you know, once again, it didn't bring too much, right? Land Rover was a really, really small manufacturer at the time. It was only GE that really bolstered the Range Rover ranks, or the Land Rover ranks. Jaguar, you know, GE definitely made it better. But before that, there were the four-wheel drive F-types, and the Project 8 was the only prize car. And for the Rover, I think it was the Rover V8 SVR? I actually can't remember. I don't know my Rovers that well. That was the only prize car. It was an Epic. I didn't win the Rover, but I did win the Project 8, and it's one of my most useless prize cars to date. So once again, RQ31 update, not very interesting. Now, moving on, the next update we have is PL 1.5 or PL 5. Forza ramp up. Now, these are patch notes copy pasted from the App Store. I couldn't find the patch notes anything after the Lancia Alfa Romeo update. That's why you don't see them. But for PL5, Forza ramp up your style. This is where they introduce Fiat, Alfa Romeo, and Lancia, including the Feist Fiat 695 Piposto, and you know, some other cars, the 8C. The Bavarian forest environment was added along with brand new race challenges, and lots of minor bug fixes as well. So once again, you know, May 17th 2018, which is pretty interesting. So actually the Alfa Romeo update and the Jaguar update came out before the Mazda update, because the Mazda update was July. So that's actually interesting. So the 2018 update were these three. And 2018 doesn't end right there because we have American Dream. So we actually had 4 updates in 2018, 3 in 2019, and so far only 2 in 2020. But I really think that we're going to get 3. Once again, the Alfa Romeo update, man, it wasn't really interesting. Oh, and one more significant thing, I forgot to talk about the Porsche update. My apologies. It added challenges to the game. It was the Porsche update that added the weekly challenges to the game, so that was pretty cool. So I remember the first ever challenges, you know, you would get ultra rares instead of ceramic pack. I think that was much better. I think it also added the daily login rewards, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it was the update after that added the daily login rewards. But yeah, the Alfa Romeo, Lancia, you know, nothing too special. Once again, you know, added a little bit of brands, but nothing too amazing in my opinion. Couple epics. I mean, Lancia had no legendaries at the time. The legendaries only came in Italian Renaissance. And then Alfa Romeo, once again, the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, I think that came in Italian Renaissance. And it was only the RQ80 Quadrifoglio. Giulia Quadrifoglio. That's right. I got so confused with the Italian names. Once again, nothing too significant about it. If you check the patch notes, they added the Bavarian forest environment, but they didn't really add any new, I guess. And of course, all these updates come with like RQ challenge, RQ balancing, and all that. But they didn't really add any new features, in my opinion. So nothing too special about that. Anyway, moving on now, we have PL7. We have American Dream. This was once again October 8th, 2018, the last update of 2018. Travel to the land of the free and explore the city of Santa Monica. Our first ever American update. A new environment with brand new challenges. So that's really cool. Much like the Bavarian tracks in the PL5, in PL7 we had Santa Monica. More than 80 new American cars have been added featuring Dodge, Chrysler, and many more. Collect the Challenger SRT Demon and Viper ACR. Love that. And you can now lock your cars to ensure you do not fuse them. I love this update so much. And once again, it also introduced a new game-breaking feature, or a new game-changing feature, which is that you can lock your cars now. I loved it. I love the American Dream, and you know, obviously a little bit of bias here, right? Added a bunch of Dodge, and I loved it. It was huge, and honestly, in my opinion, I think it was kind of a stepping stone for updates to come. American Dream, from what I remember, was the first big update, right? When it came to Porsche, they added about, I would say, I think maybe 50 cars. Mazda, they added about 30 cars. You know, they were all kind of small, and then boom comes in American Dream, adding in a bunch of new manufacturers. And how many cars did they add in the end? As you can see, more than 80 new American cars. So it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it really started with American Dream. But with that said, I'm giving it the RQ86, man. I absolutely love this update. Like, I still love it till today. It's still one of my favorites. Anyway, moving on is French Renaissance PL8. Viva la France! Start collecting some of the world's greatest hot hatches with the arrival of Peugeot. Over 50 new models as part of the new French Renaissance set, including Citroën and Bugatti, and over 90 American Dream cars, including Pontiac, and featuring new models from Dodge and GMC and more. Top Drives has more licensed cars than any other game, with 1,250 models. So French Renaissance was basically American Dream Part 2. They added more American cars than they added French Renaissance cars. French Renaissance was the first time Hutch came up to me and they were like, hey, you can tease the new cars coming in the new update. And I remember when they told me it was French Renaissance, I was like, oh, it's French cars. I mean, I didn't tell them that, but that was what I thought in my mind, because I don't like French cars. But then they sent me a bunch of new Dodge and Chrysler models, and I was like, wait, what? And it was really awesome, and this is when it was still Robin sending me the info. And he told me that it was basically American Dream Part 2 as well, because there were a lot of cars that they wanted to add in American Dream that they did not get the chance of. And of course, PL8 was the first update of 2019, March 20th. 2019, so a pretty long wait here actually from PL7 in 2018, PL7 to PL8, October 8th all the way to March 20th actually. But yeah, it was interesting, right? French Renaissance, let's look at French Renaissance as a whole, because the American Dream Part 2 cars that they added, you know, they all had the American Dream tag, so anything they want to do with American Dream kind of tied in with the update before it, which was, you know, American Dream. So let's look at French Renaissance as a whole. This update, PL8 as a whole, I would say it's an RQ86 update, but if we look at French Renaissance as a whole, it's an RQ64 update, okay? When you think about it, French Renaissance was a downgrade from American Dream because it had a lot less cars, 50, and American Dream had 80 plus 90 in French Renaissance Part 2, or American Dream Part 2, where it brings it up to 170 or something like that. French Renaissance as a whole was pretty boring. I mean, I know I hate French cars, but when you think about it, only two legendaries, right? It was two legendaries, two new Bugattis, and the Chiron Sport, which was a prize car, and besides that, they added, you know, the Banana, and I think that was it in terms of groundbreaking material. Anyway, moving on now is PL9. Travel and experience the legend of Green Hell. With the official license Nürburgring. Now that is actually pretty cool. The Nordschleife featuring brand new racing challenges. More than 200 new German cars have been added, featuring Roof, Volkswagen, and BMW. Auto saving as well, which is also really cool. Individual events. Now remember, the last hand you played, so you can switch between events much more easily. Now that's actually really cool. That was a really big feature that a lot of people were excited about. More types of notifications, and nobody really cares about that. And this was released June 24th, 2019. Now I remember when German Renaissance came out, it was groundbreaking. I'm going to give it RQ86 actually. What made it so hype was nobody actually saw it coming. Because we know Hutch, they are really slow with their updates. But when you think about it, March 20th to June, I mean, that's what? April, May, it was like literally 3 months. Like, that is incredibly quick. I was not expecting the summer update to come that quickly. I was expecting maybe late July, maybe even August. But no, it came in June, and that was huge. That was massive. I remember I was at home. It was the summer holidays. I think I was preparing to go to LA for my Disneyland, my annual Disneyland trip with the boys. Obviously, it was canceled for 2020 because 2020 is 2020. The German Renaissance was great, man. It introduced a lot of great things. The Nürburgring, I'm sure a lot of people nerded out for that. The Yellowbird, I was so happy with the Yellowbird, man. The Beat CR, great cars. A lot of new BMWs and Volkswagens as well. The German Renaissance was a really balanced event. It was a very balanced update. It was a complete different to ER. ER was like all legendaries, no low end. But German Renaissance was really, really balanced, and that's one of the best things about it. It had a lot of ultra rares, a lot of super rares, a lot of commons, uncommons. The only irony was that although the rarities were really balanced with German Renaissance, the rarities themselves were not balanced because all the low end was literally Volkswagen, all the mid range was literally BMW. That's why you have so many RQ19 or 50 BMWs, and all the high end were basically roofs. And obviously that was back when roof was really, really strong, when they had all 100 plus MRA. Now they all suck, so that's been unfortunate. But yeah, it was a really good update. Like I said, one of the best things about German Renaissance was it was really balanced. That's kind of what people want. It brought a lot of cars, and it brought a lot of variety. And a lot of BMWs. Anyway, moving on to PL10, the last update of 2019. Introducing Lamborghini and Maserati. Over 200 Italian Renaissance cars, including new Alfa Romeo, Lancia, Fiat, and Pagani models, overhauled the filter system. That is huge. Fixed lots of bugs, and it was released September 30th, 2019. Lamborghini was big. Lamborghini was massive. I remember when Lamborghini was introduced, I lost my marbles. And I remember when I could announce it to my audience, a lot of people also lost their marbles. I mean, this was the first massive manufacturer. You can argue it was the first incredibly big manufacturer added into the game that generated as much hype as Porsche. And Porsche was back in 2017. So it's been 2 years since we actually had, such a hype brand like Lamborghini. The only one that we haven't gotten is Ferrari, I guess. Aston Martin was pretty huge in my opinion. But yeah, Lamborghini was massive. Everyone was excited for it until the update came and we all got hit by a train because we realized although Lambo was massive, they were all legendaries and almost impossible to achieve. On top of that, half, or actually more than half, I would say maybe 75% of the Lambo legendaries were trash. All the four-wheel drive. If it's a Lamborghini legendary that's RQ 91 and below or 90 and below, it's pretty underwhelming. At the end of the day, we barely use them, honestly. The Gallardos, the first gen and second gen Gallardos, the Diablos, they're all really bad. So although it generated a lot of hype and concept, when the actual update shipped out, it was actually a little bit of disappointment because we kind of realized, we can't really obtain any of these cars. Lamborghini aside, Maserati nobody cares about, really useless. I mean, they had their time to shine this year of Italian Renaissance Saloon, or it was Italian Saloon or whatever. I mean, not really, right? It was the Alpha that stole the show. Pagani, the new Paganis were okay. The legendaries were kind of low end. The C12 was really good, right? That's one of the shining lights. Obviously, it added the Revolution that we recently got. It's a great car. But once again, I can't put it up with the other RQ86s. It wasn't a horrendous update, but it was a little disappointing. And for that, I'm going to give it an RQ64 update. Anyway, moving on now, we have PL11, right? The first update of 2020, introducing Great Exhibition. Championships, prove your worth in events to earn renown and cash in on new campaign levels to win the Roof CTR Yellowbird prize. Okay, so this is where championships was introduced. It also introduced Aston Martin, Bentley, Ariel, and many more. Over here, as you can see, Land Rover revamps, McLaren revamps, TVR revamps, over 200 great exhibition cars, including Jaguar, Land Rover, TVR, Lotus, Volkswagen, Polo. Yeah, I just said that. Fixed a lot of bugs, and they actually did fix a lot of bugs. My Blossom score was a 10 out of 10, and it was released January 13, 2020. Guys, let's be honest, this was the best update ever. Hands down. Great Exhibition was the best update ever. Okay? Hutch, if you're watching this, take notes. If you ever want to make an update, just compare it to Great Exhibition. It was amazingly executed. Championships is fun. It added, a brand new life to the game. The cars were great. There was a lot of variety, a lot of ultras, a lot of legendaries, a lot of commons, super rares. I mean, Lamborghini, what the Italian Renaissance introduced was, you know, the next couple of updates we're gonna see an influx of legendaries. There are going to be a lot of legendaries, and GE was that. GE brought a lot of legendaries, but unlike ER, it also brought a lot of meat and potatoes. It brought a lot of ultras, epics, super rares, uncommons, commons. It added so much to the game. GE was amazing. You know, it brought even new club features to the game. It brought new club events. Like, I think Winter Wonderland was an old club track set. They took that out and they added in California Storm. But one of the best things to really, it was icing of the cake, really. It was already a great update, but what made it even better was the pictures. Out of any update, the pictures that came with GE were the best. Lotus had some of the best, and it still has some of the best pictures in the game. The Lotus Evora 400, oh my god, it's beautiful. Okay, Aston Martin, one of my favorite brands of all time. They did not disappoint. Their cars are beautiful. Jaguar also had some beautiful pictures. GE is hands down, I'm sure so many people can agree with me, the best update ever introduced to top drives. Hands down, applaud, hats off. Hutch, if you want to take notes for an update, take notes from Grid Exhibition. There is no update that has been better than that. But unfortunately, we move on to PL12, which was, you know, basically a huge decline, right? The European revolution is here. 6 new European car brands added, 2 more, including, and added to, no, 6 new European car brands added, 2 more updated, including Koenigsegg, Spiker, Gumper, D. Tommaso, Donkova. Come on. Honestly, this was the update that nobody was asking for, right? After GE, although it was a great update, it was like, okay, it's time for an American update. Or, more specifically, it's time for a Japanese update, okay? I mean, when you think about it, all the updates we had before, Europe, okay? Let's get out of Europe and let's do something else. Nope, we stayed in Europe. Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for Donkavort. Nobody asked for Spiker. Nobody asked for D. Tommaso. Maybe 1 or 2 people out of like 100,000, right? Over 400 car corrections. Yeah, they broke a lot of cars, okay? Like a lot of German mediums, they basically threw it out the window. All the roofs, they chopped off the MRA, right? View cars you don't own with a new all cars view. Now, honestly, the all car feature is the only amazing thing that happened in ER, right? And added the new Rest of the World tag. Okay, fine, nobody cares. And of course, I mean, it was just such a dull update released in August 17th of 2020. It was so boring. Honestly, if anything, ER aged like milk. GE aged like fine wine, and ER aged like milk. If you want to know about all my problems about ER, I made a whole video about it. You can go check it out. It was a rant. I'll have the link in the description below. This is the worst update ever in Top Drive's history. It's an RQ3 update. Nobody asked for it. It was trash. And of course, it added a crap ton of bugs. Can't we? I mean, I'm sure you guys will always remember, literally 2 months after, even 2 months after ER, the game was just filled with bugs. It was not a great experience. I did not have a good time. Honestly, ER was the worst update. It was unbalanced. It was poorly made. It felt rushed, and it was also the longest wait that we had to wait for an update. It was just a disappointment all around. ER sucked. So 2020 is a table of 2 halves right now for Hutch. Because this year you've released your best ever update and your worst. So let's see what's next. Hopefully the next update of 2020 is going to be better. Obviously it can't be worse than ER, right? Because if it's worse than ER, honestly, why do we still play this game? So hopefully it's going to be better. Hopefully it's an RQ86 update. It'll be hard to beat, you know, Great Exhibition. That update was just the best. But honestly, that's going to be my video for today. That is my tier list. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Honestly, I genuinely feel like most people would agree. Maybe besides American Dream. I feel like most people might have American Dream at RQ64 looking like this, and I'll completely get that, but obviously I love my American rides, putting it in RQ86. But with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this tier list video. Hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out.